So I've been doing a ketogenic diet this morning, something unexpected and kind of frightening happened. It's only day 3 of my ketogenic diet, and the reason why I've been doing a ketogenic diet, why I started doing one, is because of, I'm overweight. Plain and simple, that's what it is. And I believe the ketogenic diet is the most appropriate way for me and my body style and my genetics and blah 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 for me to lose weight in the most healthy way possible. Now, it is a shock to the system, and so that explains what happened to me this morning, and I'll get into what exactly that was. But so last year, no, sorry, not last year, it's 2018 now. 2016, it was, I believe it was September. I was at work. I was working the night shift at the airport where I work, and I was having severe kidney pain. Didn't know why, didn't know what was causing it. I thought maybe I was having a kidney stone, and I mean, I was the only one there at work, completely alone. And it was frightening. I called the hospital, an ambulance came, picked me up. I went to the hospital. They ran a couple of tests, and they saw that my kidneys was not a kidney stone, but they diagnosed me with renal insufficiency, which I didn't know any better. But at the time, they said, "Oh no, my kidneys are failing." Basically, let's say a month ago, maybe 2 months ago now. At this point, my kidneys started hurting again. Now, I had been eating better. I had not been drinking. My exercise regimen had slipped a little bit, but I didn't think that would be enough for this kidney problem to come back. And so I found a doctor, and the doctor issued me to take these blood tests, urinalysis, ultrasound of my liver and kidneys, and my whole gut area. And what else? Well, anyway, when all that came back and I had my other appointment, this would have been last Wednesday, I think it was, last Wednesday. So I had my appointment. The doctor basically said my kidneys are fine. Either what the hospital came up with was an isolated incident where my kidneys were, not doing so well then, or they were just completely wrong. One of the two. But now he is relatively confident that my kidneys are fine. All my blood work came back good. Your analysis came back good. I was healthy in all ways except for my family all has high blood pressure, so I was confident I have high blood pressure. And every time I've got my blood pressure taken, whether I was donating blood or going to a doctor, it was always high. So I just knew I have high blood pressure. I already knew. So I get all these test results back, and the doctor's telling me that for all intents and purposes, I'm perfectly healthy. Except my cholesterol is a little bit high, and that's probably due to me not fasting before I got blood work done. But the biggest thing was the doctor did see that on my liver there was fatty tissue that had gotten into my liver, and that has caused it to then become inflamed. And that wouldn't cause the back pain that I have, that I heard that I had, which I guess is still a mystery. But the doctor said that this problem with the fatty tissue in your liver is not very serious right now. But it has the potential, if left unchecked and untreated, has the potential to become, or to develop cirrhosis. And I didn't Google what that is. He didn't quite explain to me, and if he did, I don't remember. But it doesn't sound good. And using context clues, I can imagine that that would result eventually in liver failure, which is bad. So me being, I'm only 23, I'll be 24 in a couple of months. I do not drink, I do not smoke, and I try to eat relatively healthily, choosing organic when I can. And it didn't make a whole lot of sense for these problems to be afflicting me, and I didn't really know why. But I do know that although I do eat healthy and I try to eat healthy, I also have a tendency to go on these binges where I eat nothing but junk food, and that's gotta be why. So I made the decision to stop eating this junk food, and I'm on this strict diet, ketogenic diet, starting as of last Friday, I believe. Today is Sunday, Sunday evening. And so, yeah, Friday is when I started the ketogenic diet. And I'm loving it. I really am. There's smaller portions that took, a day or two to get used to. This being day 3, I haven't been hungry all day. I've only had breakfast. It's now 5 p.m. and I've not eaten. That being said, I woke up at like 2 p.m. because I worked the night shift last night. So I woke up around 2 p.m., had breakfast, and then, so it's 3 hours after that. Yeah. So anyway, I had a very frightening episode this morning. I woke up. I woke up because my stomach was a little upset, which is to be expected when you're transitioning, when your body's transitioning from the glucose to the ketones, and blah blah blah. I only know what I've read, so I'm no expert. And so, but I do know that this is relatively not uncommon. So my stomach was a little upset, so I woke up, got out of my hammock, and went to the bathroom. And when I went to the bathroom, I sat down, and as I was sitting there, I just got increasingly more and more nauseous to the point where I was like, maybe this is about to come out the other end. So I got up, and I'm leaning over the bowl, not to get too graphic, but I was leaning over the bowl, and I had never been more nauseous than that moment in my entire life. It was absolutely just vile, this feeling inside of me. I've never felt like this before. And at the peak of this, horrible nausea feeling, I started to get very lightheaded and very dizzy. My ears started, this rushing sound from my ears was deafening. I couldn't hear anything except for just this rushing sound from my ears. And it felt as if someone was taking a bucket of ice water and dumping it on my head, and that water was running down my whole body. My skin just became icy cold. And I started to get tunnel vision as well. And it was very frightening. It all happened like that. And very frightening. I didn't know what was happening, and I felt as if I was going to lose consciousness at any moment. And so I'd never had that experience before in my life. And so I kind of stood there, and I was fighting to keep consciousness. I was very, very, very tired. I just wanted nothing more than to close my eyes and fall asleep. But I fought to stay awake as well, and I knew that if I stood up for much longer, I would end up collapsing onto the ground, so I decided to sit down. And as I did, I happened to get a glimpse of myself in the mirror, and I saw in the mirror my face was so pale. I didn't know that my skin could be devoid of all pigment. I mean, I looked like a piece of printer paper. And when I sat down, I was looking at my hands, and my hands were the same way. It was disgusting in a way. And all while it feels like someone's just constantly pouring cold water over my head, to the point where I could feel the coldness inside my mouth. It was very strange. And eventually the nausea subsided, as I was able to pass wind. And I was able to collect my bearings well enough to, finish my business in the bathroom, and as quickly as I could, and make my way back out to my bedroom, climb in my hammock and lay down on my right side in the fetal position, to get rid of the nausea. At that point, my ears were just ringing super loud. It wasn't that rushing sound anymore. It was just ringing, a piercing ringing sound. And the coldness went away immediately. The minute that I sat, or within seconds of laying down, that weird cold feeling went away. That nausea went away after a minute or two. The ringing took the longest, but it eventually went away. And within 2 minutes, I felt as if nothing weird had happened. Physically, and mentally, I'm freaked out. And so I'm sitting there and I'm Googling, what the heck is this? What's happening? And then shortly after, I went and I told my parents what happened, so that they can be aware that, this type of thing is possible. I just had an episode, another one could happen. So if that happens, I want you to know what it is, essentially. And so that was very, very frightening. What I believe it was, after doing some reading, was a hypoglycemic episode. I'm not going to get into what that means and what that is. If you're interested, Google it. That's all I did, so you would get better information by doing that than me regurgitating what I read, because I don't even remember half of it already. But I believe it was a hypoglycemic episode, and could have been something to do with low blood pressure too. I don't know. I'm not a doctor. But I don't think it was anything to worry about. I went and had a tall glass of orange juice, which has a little bit more carbs and has some natural sugars in it and whatnot, and so that should help to balance out my body a little bit, so it's not so much of a shock to my system, eliminating these things so immediately and so drastically. So I feel fine now. I've not been hungry all day, so I had to force myself to eat breakfast after that episode, just because I knew I needed to eat, and even then I've been neglecting drinking water today. Previous days I had been drinking water when I was hungry and it wasn't time to eat yet, so I didn't do that to save off the cravings. But since I'm not craving anything, I'm not hungry for anything, the water, I've just been forgetting about it, honestly. After trying to find information as to what is happening, what just happened this morning, what is happening to me, this hypoglycemic episode, I wanted to figure out, what it was, and I discovered that there's just not a lot of information, or at least testimonials from people who are going through this ketogenic diet for the first time. There's just not a lot of information out there about it, and that surprised me, because almost always for things like this, you can find that information relatively easily, but I could not. And so once a day, maybe once a week, or just a couple times a week, I want to do a short video. This one's going to be a little bit longer, but the rest of the videos I want to do short videos and make a playlist on what going through this transition into a ketogenic diet is like for an overweight, a young adult male who is and always has been overweight for the first time going through this ketogenic diet. And I think that would be very beneficial for a lot of people, and it'd be kind of interesting. And if anything else, it'll hold me to this diet, which, by the way, I am loving it. The food is excellent. The portions are small, but I'm used to it already by now. And I really don't miss or crave sweets or anything like that. I have no cravings right now. I'm not even hungry. I just want to put out a couple of updates here every now and again to talk about this ketogenic diet and what's going on with me, my personal experience with it, and hopefully it'll benefit any of you watching it that perhaps are in a similar situation as me, where I've always been overweight and want to transition into this type of diet. And you can learn, hopefully, from what I do and do better than what I do. So that's it. God bless.
Should be toward us.